Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So, Tracy, we have a wonderful story today and a wonderful guest. Toni Calderone is with us today. She's the founder, CEO of PastaNito Fresh Pasta Fast. She's also a fresh pasta manufacturer. Hospitality is actually in her blood. Her Sicilian immigrant grandfather is responsible for bringing the first pizza shop to York, Pennsylvania. She is trained at several well-known restaurants, including Darden's Seasons 52. The pandemic created a strong demand for fast casual options, and Toni answered the call with PastaNito, a quick service, build your own fresh pasta concept. She honed it in on making it a staple across the country by pulling from her experience of 25 years in the restaurant industry. Her mission is to simplify the variables of full-service restaurant by streamlining the process for owners. Woohoo! You are actually an innovator, girl. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
So
That's a lot of words there.
It's a lot of words, and I tripped over the words with an S. I'm like,
you did great.
Your whole bio, I got to tell you, Toni, was overwhelming to me. And I didn't know what parts to cut down and what to leave in because I want you to be able to tell the story. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, since we're going to tell the story, let's go to the beginning because I want to hear about this family of entrepreneurs and I want to hear who inspired you the most.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to grow up in an immigrant family. My grandparents from Sicily, always in the food business. My grandmother had a grocery store. My grandfather married into her family, created pizza by going up to New York and learning how the Americans were doing it and brought it down to York, PA. So we created pizza in our hometown and, sponsored a lot of the Sicilians from our neighborhood to come over and work for him. They went on to open up their own locations. So we're very rich in the area that I am in now in, creating a legacy for a lot of families, not just ours. So when I grew up in Florida, he retired down to Florida and my grandmother, was always supportive of Alberto's Pizza. We had several locations. All my family's involved. They all have their own Alberto's locations. And when my mother married my father, he's 13 years old. They've been together. He worked in the pizza shop. He married into it, and he went on to open up his own big idea of what franchising looks like. He always had big, huge serial entrepreneurial ideas. So franchising was a word I learned at a very young age. And my father was a really impactful man to show me that anything's possible. And he raised me, his first daughter, to think like his first son, right? Like there's nothing you can't do, kid. Come with me to every meeting. My grandmother had a lot of influence on me too. She was always behind the scenes and supportive, but had the ideas. And then my mother had a lot of the ideas, and this was actually her idea at the dinner table one night. So Spaghetti Ready has fast forward several years, several iterations, several tried and trues, failed in my childhood. I made it my life's mission, and now here we are. So all my mom's fault.
It's all mom's fault.
It's all mom's fault. Well, my grandmother actually, she sat me down after my grandfather passed away and she said, look, Tom, it was always me. She's like, you come from a long line of strong women entrepreneurs, so I stand behind our men. She's like, you're in the front, make me proud. And I was like, okay, Nanda. So I took that and I ran with it. I was actually in the process of opening up a chop house that I was going to put her name in lights before she passed away. I named it after her. Mm-hmm. So, to have that kind of support and inspiration and strength in the women who raised me, being stay-at-home moms, meant a lot.
I admire this strong woman background that you have. What's amazing to me is how you took those words,
Mhm.
make me proud, serious. I mean, it wasn't just a passing thing someone said to you. You took it as an instruction for life and set a mission to make her proud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us where you went from these family businesses and the hospitality industry. So what created your business, PastaNito?
Yeah. So I mean, you're built from a lot of your experiences, right? So I took all of my experiences literally. At 12, when my dad was teaching about commissary and franchising and it didn't work out for them, I went on when I was able to get my first job to work at McDonald's to learn how they did it at 14 years old. I wasn't there to get a paycheck. I was there to learn how the boss wasn't in the building, right? Like, what does this mean, these systems? So when I made it to the back drive-through window, I was very excited about that promotion. And I was it was intoxicating to me because there were steps and levels of accomplishing and fulfilling growth and expansion in this industry. And I was like, it's it. I love it. I want to do it. I'm going to figure it out. So everything I did moving forward was always to build that story of experience and how I was going to get here one day. I didn't know how, I just knew I was going to. So in high school, actually, I took entrepreneur class as a senior because I needed to figure it out. And I delivered an amazing business plan, and it was for Slices, which was a drive-through pizza concept. I mean, you could have called Township, and everything was legit. It was a legit business plan. And my teacher failed me. Big F, I'll never forget it. And he was just the football coach. What do you know about entrepreneurship? But he taught me a really big lesson, huge lesson, in the fact that, my whole entire high school career was built around this scholarship that I was going to receive. If I got this certain GPA and that F bombed my GPA and I lost my scholarship. So it was a
Oh,
really hard lesson to learn. And I didn't understand why until I called a meeting with my principal and my parents and this teacher after we walked and graduated. I said, is there any way we can go back in time and fix this? And he said, look, you're confident, you're smart, you have everything it takes to be successful. But what you don't understand is that you have to show up. He's like, it's a hard lesson, but I'm not changing your grade because one day you're going to realize that it's not just the ideas that you put forward, it's the effort. And that is entrepreneurship. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And it has been with me through this entire journey that you have to show up. So that's what I'm doing. And I have been doing and building my story, right? Like, okay, how am I going to open my first restaurant one day? I had no idea. Well, I met my ex-husband and he brought me up to my hometown and we were arranged, like our families knew each other. And then one day you guys are going to get married. We did. And I opened up my first restaurant, which was Two Tonys, Tutonis. And we still have it. It's our flagship restaurant. Fine dining, farm to table, everything scratch made, James Beard chef. Like it's exquisite. And we always, as women, have to find how to get our flowers, right? Because you don't get them. You have to make a way to be recognized as you're the one doing it. That wasn't my intention, but it became part of my journey when I realized that when you put your name on a sign, it's how you get validation that you and your husband are doing this, and this is a thing, and this is great. But ultimately, I realized I no longer wanted to be in that marriage. I was doing this. I was bringing this business to the forefront and making it a thing in the community. So that became part of my journey too, while I was figuring out my concept. So I have layers to my story because I feel like in the position I'm in, which is very uncommon, 7% of female restaurateurs were owners when I started in the nation. Like it's a very low margin.
mhm.
So in developing, I needed to get validation and credibility that I was able to run this restaurant with my 6-month-old up in my office at the time, right? Like 15-hour days, boots to the ground, creating a restaurant that the Olive Garden is the best restaurant in this town. So I had to create an experience. And it really catapulted me to where I'm at now, because the relationships I've made along that journey, right? The investors I've found by serving them at their tables, the following that I had to support every idea that I've created through my hospitality group. At one time, I was owned and operated 13 different concepts, from
my
a
goodness.
boutique hotel to a catering to food trucks to fine dining establishments, bars. Like, I was doing it all to be self-funded to get to this point.
I have a burning question.
Yes.
First of all, I'm amazed with your journey. I'm amazed with each segment of your journey and then how it all ties together. And I have two burning questions that I also think are tied together that I need you to clarify, because I think a lot of like the women who are listening to the show, might be interested in something like this. So you mentioned about the powerful women in your family who gave you the support, inspiration, and strength. And I feel like there was a dichotomy, because at the same time, you said that they were stay-at-home moms, but behind it all, they were idea generators and innovators. And then you mentioned how, as women, we need to get our flowers. I need you to tie all that together for my brain.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, growing up, it's a different world today, thank God. But it's because women from the generations before made sure that they were telling their daughters that they can do whatever they want to do, that you can go to school, you can get that degree, you can do it, because they weren't. They were at home making sure the kids were being raised, right? It wasn't that my mother wasn't capable. She was very capable of running a business and creating a business and operating it, but it is very demanding. And somebody else will then raise your kids. So she made the conscious decision not to, but she always told me, do not rely or depend on a man to get anywhere you want to get in this life, especially at home, because you don't want that power over you. And she said, you're capable of accomplishing anything you want. And hearing those words as a young girl, you tend to believe them. And as much as I wanted to be a teacher, a school teacher, the entrepreneurship in me took over. And I felt that I absolutely had the wind beneath my wings in that support from hearing that as you're being raised. And my example of my mother was to sacrifice what her goals and dreams were to make sure that I had what I needed to do to go make mine happen. So I wasn't going to let that go in vain, A. And then B, when you are on that road, it is still very much a boys' club in the finance world, in the business world, and in the restaurant world. And you need to show them that you can have a baby, be a mom, and run business. So, and I'm not very, the word demure, right? Like, I'm going to be very whistle blow in your face. I sound like a 65-year-old Sicilian man when I talk, so I screw up. any pre-note, whatever they are going to think about how this meeting is going to go, I take it to the left, and they're like, well, who the hell are you? So that's helped me along the journey. I don't take any shit. So when I'm sitting at these tables, I'm able to negotiate as if, I've done this my whole life because of how I was raised. And you need all of these tools in order to be able to keep climbing, because the first chance, and I've experienced it, the first chance that a man can take away credibility, or just credibility is the best words. They will. They'll be like, well, I was in a meeting with bankers, top tier bankers, about getting financing. The question that I was asked was, are you sure you're going to be able to handle this all when you have your kid at home? And I was like, no, you didn't. So like, you have to have all of it in order to be able to push through all of the adversity. And I'm very grateful that, although my mom's example wasn't front lines, it was absolutely feeding me and telling me that you can and you will. So that's why I am.
Love that.
You really are blessed when you think about it. As the generations before you didn't see those options, even though, as you pointed out, they had the talent, they had the intelligence, they had the drive, they had the creativity. they're capable, but didn't have those same options that you had. And then you had your grandmother and your mom feeding into you, make us proud. Your generation is going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
The piece that was really fascinating to me that you talked about was when you built this the other restaurant with your husband, then husband, it felt like your identity was being taken away. I've had a personal experience about that too, and I literally didn't know who I was. Um, so can you talk a little bit more about that and why it was so important to you to create your own identity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, when you first set out to make your vision come to life, you need anybody to help you. Like as many people on this journey, because it's not just a me thing, but there is only one person leading the vision with additional input.
Right.
And it's always standard that it's the misconception that the man's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not a part of the restaurant in the beginning to build that. And I wouldn't have minded if I was happily married and this is our mission and this is fine. But my mom's voice in the back of my head, don't depend on a man. I need to make my place in this world. Like I'm doing this. I'm going to say that I'm doing this. It's not a narcissistic thing, which it turned out to. You can negate a woman's mission by making it seem like, oh, all you care about is who thinks that what you did. No, all I care about is that women who are watching me know that I did this. Period. There was no other ulterior motive. I did this, and you can too. Not without sacrifice, not without dedication, not without showing up, but you can. And I was very vocal about that. So I made sure I was on every podcast that I could locally to get that message out. I made sure that I spoke at public events. I made sure that I made a name for myself as its own brand to show that I'm Toni Calderone. This is what I'm on a mission to do. This is what I have accomplished so far. And I'm going to take you along with me on this journey of my next establishment and now my next establishment. And the fastest way that I was able to do it was very hard going through a public divorce, but the very the way that I made that transition from being a two-Toni to Toni Calderone, female restaurateur, was I created a restaurant incubator for other restaurateurs, other aspiring restaurateurs. So my next project from my own restaurant was, okay, how do I get more people, more women, more men, whoever, who wanted to start their own restaurant to the forefront? And how do I do it quickly? That it makes such an impact on my community that it shows, oh, Toni is behind this. Oh, she is the one doing that, because I needed them to be part of my journey moving forward. So that's what we did. We did 28 different restaurants through an incubator. I helped mentor them all. I had a panel of 3 other judges. We were essentially like our own little Shark Tank in our town. And that really catapulted, community buy-in even more, which essentially made my other restaurant busier. And that's the entrepreneurial brain, right? Like you have to have strategy, not just, hey, look what I could do. It's strategy and purpose. And then that's how I also developed, my investors to see what I was capable of doing, and then skyrocketed from there.
Well, all I'm hearing in my head is Toni, Toni, Toni has done it again. Is that like your theme song? Do you hear that in your head every day?
I love it.
Done it again.
I'm gonna tag that. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, that's
That's
such a
great.
I think you're right. That's exactly what the message is. But you mentioned the word purpose.
Mhm.
So this isn't, it's no longer about your Toni, Toni, Toni. You are now inspiring others, men and women, to build businesses by providing them an operating system and the ideas that have been successful for you. So it's bigger and it's inspiring. And I'm trying to put a word or a sentence to what this purpose is that drives you. I know some of it is from being told, make us proud, and
Yeah.
from mom saying, you got what it takes, but it's bigger than that. So if you could describe your true mission, your true purpose, what would that be?
Disruption.
Disrupt.
Disruption. There are ways that it has been done forever, and then there's ways that it can be done. So bringing fresh pasta fast to the market exemplifies that completely. And in order to execute that, it's not that it hasn't been tried. The great Barilla tried to pull this off in New York several years ago. It's not that it hasn't been tried, it just hasn't been true. And that's where the grit comes in, right? Like your disruption and saying that this can be done, well, you got to figure out how and never stop. Like I fail. Oh my gosh, I have so many more failures than I have successes. Like I have so many more. And I failed forward. I learned forward. And, my mission was to say, why not? And it always has been. So where people say it can't be done, I'm figuring out ways it can.
Watch.
And, it's you just have to be a purpose. I have one tattoo. I was never going to get one. My mom said, don't put bumper stickers on a Bugatti. But I got one tattoo, and it's a double-edged sword, because my father said everything you do is going to be a double-edged sword in your life. And the handle is the Empire State Building, because that building was built after they said that it couldn't be done in 1 year, one story a day. So whenever I feel like I can't make it happen, I think about that mission without power tools. You know what I mean? Like it's frame of mind, right? So disruption and making it happen when they said it couldn't. From being born a woman to going full-fledged into this industry, generally was a man's world, to now bringing something so unique with fresh pasta. I better be ready for all eyes on me, and I better bring it. And I've never had to sell a vision more than I am now, but I genuinely live it. So it's not smoke and mirrors. I'm telling you that I was born and bred with this, and I'm going to take you with me once you buy in. Like it's going to take a slew of us, and it's disruption across the board.
What did your father say about the double-edged sword?
That everything that I set out to do is going to be easy and hard for me, because I have the personality to set and make it happen, but it's going to have some backlash, because I did make it happen, and you better be ready for both sides.
And
Cuts
have you
both
found that to be
ways.
true?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, very much so. Determination is a blessing and a curse. The responsibility of being in the first seat is very heavy, because it's your vision, it's your responsibility to sell that vision, it's your responsibility to pay for that vision, keep payroll going, keep moving it forward, keep learning, and do it all publicly. Where if you're in second position, you help execute that vision and you make your paycheck and go home. Like I wake up with my 2-year-old every night and cry too. You know what I mean? Like I sleep and live like a newborn, where that's the entrepreneurial way, right? Like you just have to keep moving and figure it out. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But I'm here for it, and I'm showing up. And we've really done a lot of work to simplify something that doesn't need to be so complicated. The world of restaurants is a very complicated, vast, variable-driven industry. And I feel it's a strength being a woman in this seat, because I don't have the ego to prove that this is like, let's just simplify it. Let's just make it efficient and simply execute it as much as possible. We don't need all the frills. We just need it to be very good and consistent. How do we do that? Well, I do that with raising my kids. Here's your backpack. Here, this is the system at home. I keep you alive, I keep you fed, and I keep you thriving. How do I do that in my business? And that's really how I've nurtured this thing from idea to incubator to now full-blown franchise. And I just want to provide tools to the next owner that give them confidence to put their all into something that can deliver success by showing up.
And you've demonstrated it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've put yourself on the line.
Mm-hmm.
You understand it's a two-edged sword. You're going to be scrutinized. You're going to be up for potential mistakes. You're going to be doing all of this quite publicly, but you're up for it. You're ready to
Yep.
show up. You're ready to put in the energy.
Yep.
These future franchisees, um, will they need that same level of passion that you have? You've taken something very complex and you have simplified it. So tell us a little bit more of your future partners, your future franchisees.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's like very much a trend right now to say you can be a absent owner and you can own this and just check in on it. As much as I would love to sell that as a dream, it's you have to have boots on the and show up, right? You have to have boots
Right.
on the ground and show up to connect with your community. In the food service industry, you feed the people in your community. Food's just your commodity. People are your priority. So you have to be there for that, present for that. Does that mean slinging pasta every day? No, but it means making those connections in your communities. So that's really the driving force behind our success is how much we give back to our communities and support the people who support the brand, which is ultimately your customer. And that builds in repeat foot traffic. But you have to have that passion for a community. You're in the service industry. So that's definitely what I look for. Do you need experience in this industry? Absolutely not. I had to survive post-COVID where nobody worked in this industry like we needed them to.
Yeah.
I had to train anybody who had a pulse to come in and work. So the systems that we created for training, I gamified them. I've made them very approachable. I've made them comprehensible where it's not so intimidating. I've simplified prep time. You don't need any skill set for this. So it's very inviting to anybody who's looking to get into this industry without having to, saute 15 hours a day. Like you're literally assembling the food in the storefront. We've done all the proprietary work behind the scenes. You're just assembling at the storefront. But the business model is connecting to your community. That's the true efforts here, because once you've pleased someone with over a bowl of pasta, I assure you they'll come back to visit you over and over again if you make that connection. And I'm very proud of my team. We're at like 72 five-star reviews in a row right now, just because the impression that we give you when you walk in the door is you're part of our family. Olive Garden had it first, but we mean it.
Oh, 72 five-star reviews.
You know how hard that is in the
Congratulations.
restaurant world.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. So I'm really glad you articulated that, yes, our future franchisee needs to have that level of passion and commitment, but it's not for building the systems or coming up with the recipes or all of that or fighting against trends and disrupting things. You've already done that. Their passion needs to be for people and the community and to be involved and to make that community a part of their extended family, which then allows PastaNito to get into markets that we couldn't have done otherwise, at least not as quickly. So your passion and your purpose are so evident.
Thanks.
It's kind of crazy. So let me ask you a question. When you look into the future, do you still see yourself as continuing to be a disruptor? And if so, in what ways?
That's a good question. And I think about it often because it's a lot of responsibility when you do that, right? You shake the tree, now you got to be there to catch the fruit. I just made that up. That's pretty good. So I have a daughter now, my third and final kid. She's 2. And see all of the same qualities of her. She looks exactly like dad, but she acts exactly like me. Like you can't tell her anything. At 2 already having full conversations. So it's different now. My mission is different because I have a girl and I want her to see that she too can make anything happen in this life. Do I want her to follow my footsteps? Not necessarily. I want her to do whatever makes her happy. So the disruption part of me might be dwindling a little bit after I finally break through with this concept and just make sure it does great disrupting the markets. As far as continuing to keep blasting through different industries or whatever, in the sense that I'm an entrepreneur and not just the pasta girl, I think I'm done after this one. I'm now going to put what my mother put into me, into my children. So my priority is to get this going, get this successful. They're still young enough that I could take them to the office with me. I have an au pair, she's amazing, so I'm able to do both things. And then once I feel that I'm ready to go into the next step with the company, I'll probably hire somebody more adverse to the franchise world to run the show. That's
Yeah.
my goal. Then I can be mom and be with my kids all the time.
Oh, okay. I got to address what you just said because I got this picture, and my guess is Tracy has a similar picture. And the picture that I am seeing is of this pioneer with some kind of machete going through the jungle and knocking down all the stuff and clearing the path for others, right? So you're clearing the path and going through the jungle, but at the same time, it's kind of like you're building a bridge so others don't have to go through that jungle. They can walk in your steps.
Love that.
You did all the hard stuff. You put your neck at risk, your money at risk, your time, your reputation, all of it. And then you left this bridge behind for others to cross over. So that was a picture that I got.
Wow. I
So
love that.
Tracy, I'm sure you had some thoughts too, and I didn't need to.
You know, it wasn't that it was the vision. I think I saw that in a stream of words, right? Like starting from what Toni said, like whistleblower, in your face, disruption, legacy builder, innovator, job creator, like
Wow.
powerful woman, support, inspiration, strength, all of that. Like I am just ready to go climb the Empire State Building right now.
Not a girl. Thank you for that, ladies. It's very humbling to hear on the other side of that.
No, speaking about the Empire State Building, that analogy you gave kind of had a two parts to it, or a double edged, maybe is a better. You said I wrote it. The only thing I had was this gift bag.
There you go.
Write it on the gift bag. You said that people thought this was impossible,
Mhm.
and then they built it one story at a time,
A
one
day.
a day,
They
right?
got that thing built in 1 year.
She said
And so,
without power tools. Did you say without power tools? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
1920s. They didn't really have power
they
tools.
didn't have what we have today, but I like the word story. It was like we built one story a day, and that's kind of what you've done. Each part of your story is one of those stories of the empire building.
Yeah.
One, this, family, and then this scholarship, and then this, and then that, and what you have built, and what will continue to be built long past, when you've retired and you're sipping
Yeah.
margaritas.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yep. It's pretty neat.
It is
It's
very cool.
and the worst part of this entire climb, and because I'm such a family oriented person, is that my grandparents aren't here to see it and my dad isn't here to see it. And that's the bittersweet part of life, right? The hard lessons, and the sweet isn't sweet without the sour. So it's like, as you're creating those stories and the different levels, you also have to be present. That's a lot of advice I want to give too, is you get caught up in what your next intention is, but when you get such devastating losses in your life, it makes you sit on your heels and realize that you are so blessed in this journey, and make sure that you take in the good blessings too, rather than just the mission, right? Because you can't take the mission with you, it's left behind, but your ultimate legacy are your kids. And if you
But
don't have kids, your name and
right.
you leave behind.
Speaking of name and your ancestors, like everybody, they just, your family gave you the right name, like Toni, just breaking through any kind of stereotypical generalization of what characteristics a man or a woman or, or they need to have. And you just embrace it all, don't you? You just embrace it all and use every tool in your arsenal.
I do. I do. Yes. Thank you for saying that. I mean, that even just triggers a memory of growing up and always getting made fun of because I had a boy's name. And I had to like defend myself and be like, yeah, well, I probably can do it better than a boy. You know what I mean? Like, I was on the weightlifting team. I was just always breaking norms. Or just and then I graduated and did Miss Florida USA. Like, I'm just whatever I could do to disrupt. That's what I do. And my whole life has been like that.
Get things out of the way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. While you were talking, Tracy, I looked up the meaning of Toni.
Oh, it has a meaning?
Have you ever looked it up, Toni?
No, I've never. My first name,
In Greek, you're going to see the coincidence here. In Greek, it means flower. And you were talking about, I can get my own flowers, right? Kind of thing. It means flower. It gives me chills when I think.
But do you mean flour as in like a daisy or flour as in like flour to make
flour for
pizza?
pasta.
Flower for pasta.
Both of it.
Flower in terms of she can get, yeah.
I love it. Full circle.
Amazing.
I've never looked it up either. I didn't know it meant flour in Greek.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And then
crazy.
earlier you were talking about I can get my own flowers, right? Flowers and flower. And anyway, I think we hit on a super coincidence here.
So cool.
Brought up the name Tracy.
So cool.
We touched on it all today.
I love it.
Yeah, there we go. Oh my gosh, girls, we got to wrap up. We got to get into our next meetings. Thank you, Toni, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. How do people get hold of you if they want to learn more about PastaNito?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Toni Calderone. I'm also with our franchising website, ownapastanito.com. That'll bring you to everything me and the team and PastaNito oriented. Also, my email address, if anybody wants to get a hold of me direct, is toni@pastanito.com.
Perfect. And Tracy, I'm going to pass it to you for any final thoughts or words or inspiration.
We said it all today. Toni, you just keep being a Toni, breaking norms, setting trends, pioneering, doing your thing, because we all want to follow you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Rebecca. It's been a pleasure. You ladies are amazing. I love this mission, and I'm now a huge fan.
Nope. Thank you again. And thank you to those that are listening today to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forge. Make sure to share, comment, like Toni's interview today. And of course, we'll see you next week on another interview.
Ciao.